All right, well, you ready to come back?
Nope.
What do you mean, no? We just got here. We have to go back. That's what the door is here for.
For what? Our 2 listeners?
The 2 howlers, thank you very much, and they are very excited for our return. They keep talking about it, and I keep talking about it, and your schedule won't line up. So come on, are you ready to go in or not?
No.
Shit. Sixth episode, Will. It's been a minute. We sat down to record, and pre-production has just taken, what was it, a year and a half? We don't know where it went. I'm sorry.
About a year.
Yeah, I'm sorry about Will.
Wait.
This was in no way, shape, or form a group effort to delay this. No, no, it's hard to do a podcast where you're wrong about everything day in and day out. You know, it's hard to do. It's disheartening, and it's hard to make time in your schedule when you're graduating college, which no one warned us about.
Yeah.
No one warned us about. This is your fault. I'll be real, audience. Why didn't you warn us?
Why?
I wanted to see my family. I didn't have time for it. And now I got to pay money to a university.
For our film degrees.
I know. Why does that cost money, Will? Why, they don't pay us already. Like, they could just, I don't know. Scary times. Tricky, scary times. But we are touching today. We're not going to address it further, by the way. All right, howlers. We're leaving it at that, okay? We didn't do episodes, and now we're doing episodes again. We're just going to leave it at that. And we're not going to blame Will, even though it's his fault. So...
Wow, so we're off to a good start here.
Yeah, it is. It's rough. It's rough out there. But, Will, we want to get talking today. What's our film?
We will be talking about the new film, Asteroid City, which, if you're not familiar, it's a... Wes Anderson film. It's the newest film in his, I guess, is it like the...
his repertoire.
Saga. Because he uses a lot of the same cast members in like all
always
of his
big
films.
names. And that's, I want to talk about that because, like, Wes Anderson is sort of like baby's first art film, you know? Like, because it sort of, his films always tend to break the molds. And so big name actors and his like returning cast is usually what gets people like more on board with it than they would otherwise typically be. Even though I love his films, they're amazing and stuff. But what makes them more marketable is the fact that he's able to get really big stars on there. And I can almost just barely guarantee that if his name wasn't big, those stars would be the only reason why those films got made. But because his name is also big, then he's able to get the funding for him. But that's my own hot take about it, even though I love his films. And we'll talk more about what that means.
Yeah, he's got to have a lot of respect for continually getting those same actors back for all of his films too. You know, and if you're not familiar with Wes Anderson, definitely recommend going and watching some of his films.
You got Fantastic Mr. Fox, Isle of Dogs, Grand Budapest Hotel has always been like my top 3 favorite films of all time. And of course, you know, he has the other really big names of those. What was the one where they're like on a train? Cannot remember. That's going to haunt me now. That I'm going to get all the Wes Anderson fans who are like, you didn't even mention this best one, or you didn't know the name. I'm sorry. We're filming this late at night because scheduling. But
yeah, so because I was trying to think of that one too.
We're cutting this bit. Well, look it up. Look it up right now.
Well,
we're cutting this. I can say whatever I want.
Well, I know that in Grand Budapest Hotel there is a train scene.
Yeah, that's not what we're talking about. They're like on a journey. It's like 3 dudes. Bill Murray's in it. This hurts. Let's cut this. And then that's where we actually cut it. But so But no, we're not talking about any of his other films right now. We're going to be talking about Asteroid City, which is what we sat down and saw for this episode. Will, you have all the technical information, and then we can get more into like the nitty gritty about what the film is.
Yeah. So, well, just so you know, this came out initially May 23rd of this year, but I think last weekend is when it came out more like widespread here in the U.S. So it's the screenplay was by Wes Anderson. It was directed by Anderson and distributed by Universal Pictures and Focus Features. The production companies were I'm reading this, and this just says Wes Anderson. So he funded this film himself, Indian Paintbrush, which isn't that his production company?
I'm pretty sure it is. And so that's another thing. Like, people understand Steven Spielberg is an independent filmmaker, which doesn't sound like it's true, but it is. And so is Wes Anderson. He's pretty much indie, at least in the sense of where he gets a lot of his backing and stuff. But
yeah.
I could be wrong on that. People are gonna rip me a new one here. What, like, I don't think who's the distributor in the production company? Was it just Indian Paintbrush or?
So the other production companies with Indian Paintbrush it was Focus Features, and
gotcha.
And then distribution was Universal Pictures, and Focus Features as well. But yeah, so the tagline for this film is world-changing events spectacularly disrupt the itinerary of a junior stargaze/space cadet convention in an American desert town circa 1955.
Which is not a good synopsis of that. Like, it's not a good log line for that film.
Logline, yeah.
Because it's not what the film is about. And it's not, like, that happens in the movie, but the movie is not that. Like, it's not defined by that. And it actually, like, outright rejects, like, log lines.
Right.
In the sense, just because of the scope of its own narrative.
And we can talk about what exactly happens in a little bit later. We want to just make sure that we kind of give a spoiler-free gist of it for the first half, and then we can kind of dive into it the second half. But anyway, so that's the log line, and it's when we talk about it later, or if you see it, it's definitely different than what that says. But anyway,
in a good way.
Like, yeah.
All the marketing for this is, I don't want to say deliberately deceptive, because I don't think that's right, but it's definitely like it markets it like a movie that you would go see, but the actual product is like its own art. Which we'll get into what that. I know we keep saying we're going to get into this, we're going to get into that. This is the intro. I'm sorry. Let's get into.
It's been a year and a half.
We're rusty. I'm sorry.
Anyway, so yeah, we can just dive in and I guess start talking about it in opinion wise and what we each thought. Do you want to go first? I mean, I can go first.
I know where I want to go with what I want to say, so I want to hear your thoughts first to see how that might shape my own comments here. But so I think I want to hear you first.
Okay. So I really enjoyed this film. It was definitely one of Anderson's more cohesive story films. If you're familiar with his other films, sometimes they're all really good. I don't wanna say, but some of them have more, I guess, like they have stronger story threads. And I guess his last one, The French Dispatch, was also good, but that one had multiple storylines.
It was an anthology in itself.
Yeah, which, without spoiling this one too much, it's different, but it has some elements from The French Dispatch, but it definitely has a more, I guess, cohesive story.
Yeah.
But I liked it. It had great production value and a great cast. I think that the only two cast members that weren't in this one that were in his other ones were Owen Wilson and Bill Murray, in which I read both were because of scheduling conflicts for many different reasons. But the star-studded cast was just amazing, and
yeah, I mean, that's something that can't be understated about these films is that you have these actors who are so good at their job, and a lot of Wes Anderson's style is very, very flat. Like, a lot of the acting and stuff is very flat, and he uses these really, really big-name actors who can give very, very emotive performances, and he'll have them do things so like in direct rejection of a lot of those styles, which is absolutely brilliant, and it brings out really the best in them because it makes them do so much more with what they're given because they're so restricted in it. But a lot of the delivery, especially in this film, is literally like this, which is yes, no, or like I did this and then there was that, and like it's all very, very flat delivery, but it's so, again, Wes Anderson's style is something that sort of has to be seen. Describing it is difficult, at least at 10:46 at night. But so is that, what did you feel? So you're saying like this is a more cohesive story within, like compared to some of his other works. What, for people at home who may have seen some Wes Anderson films, what would you most closely pair this film with? Like, not even like a Wes Anderson film, but like if you're trying to get butts in seats, like,
ooh, like what other film would I like as a comparable?
Yeah, if there even is one.
I don't know.
Yeah,
because
that was a bad question. It brings a lot of silence.
I mean, I know that if you've seen the Grand Budapest Hotel, it's probably more in line with that one.
Right.
But I'm trying to think of...
Well, because that also had the nested narrative of, like, this is about... like, this is someone reading a book, so it's about an author writing about his experience talking to someone who's telling him a story. Right. And so it's a nested narrative, which is also very much what happens in this film. So I think that's probably the right comparable.
Yeah, I mean, you can't compare his films to a lot of,
yeah, well,
the mainstream films.
That gets into what I want to talk about, because I saw this movie. I love this movie. I really did. I saw it initially with a dear friend of ours, Cass, and I took them to go see it. I had to work like immediately afterwards, so I didn't really get their opinion on the film. But we were talking prior, and I said we were talking about Wes Anderson films and stuff, and I really wish I had a better way to have said it to them at the time. And it wasn't until I took my brother to go see it on the second time that it really got to me about what it was I was trying to say. Because my brother hated, well, he didn't hate it, but he didn't like this film.
Well, okay, to be fair, you're...
No, and I will be fair here because I want people to understand why. Because I'm not just going to dismiss like that point of view, because this isn't a movie in the way that we're used to thinking about them, because you're used to invisible editing or like continuity, like all these things coming together, emotive projection, like all of it. There's a lot of rules of filmmaking that Wes Anderson, I'm not going to say, oh, he breaks the mold or whatever, but he kind of does, because it's, my brother didn't like the film. I'll start with that, because he felt it was pretentious. And he feels that way about Wes Anderson's other work. Grand Budapest Hotel, which is one of my favorite ones. I showed it to him because I thought he would love it. And he said, it's just boring and pretentious. And I didn't get it until finally, like, we watched this one. He's like, it was pretentious. The story was a little harder to follow. and like it wasn't. I'm a story guy, and so I started to think about what that meant. And Wes Anderson's style, if people like who don't really like film as an art form, they like movies, like watching movies as experiences or as social, um, like social bridges, ways to like talk, like start conversations with people or engage with culture. Uh, they like movies to be the way that they are, which is, pretty like it's focused on what the market wants. So you get your things like Marvel, Star Wars, like all your DC stuff, most action films, every Die Hard, every Transformers, every Fast X. Uh, you'll get a lot of those because there's the big blockbusters that people want to see, and then within those you'll get things that still operate within the rules and the framework that's been set out by those. But it's art film, people reject it because of it's seen as pretentious, and people who like just normal pop culture, they don't like art film because they think I'm hoping I'm gonna film a little art film and show what people sort of see art film as, which is just like the flashing lights and all these nonsensical shots and like people moaning the same thing over and over and over again with like a nonsensical sentence, and then it's just a bunch of people in like top hats and monocles just like, oh yes, what a lovely film that was. Wasn't it great because no one poorer than us can understand it. But that's really not what art film is, and people reject art film because they see it as pretentious, because it's like, well, you want to make a movie, why don't you make a movie like we watch the movies, like the movies that I see? And it's really the difference between like reading novels and reading poetry, because they're both literature and they're both put out using the framework of words on paper. Obviously, digital age has changed, but you know what I'm saying. The words on paper, but poetry is very, very specific framework under very different circumstances, and they're not the same. And a lot of people don't like poetry because it's pretentious, because it's not what they're used to reading. And I'm not saying that if you don't like poetry, or if you do think poetry is pretentious, that you're wrong or bad at like forming opinions or whatever. But it really is just a different form of art. It's written within a framework that you're not used to, and if you don't like that framework, that's fine. But it's not. I think it's more pretentious to disregard a different way of making art with the same tools, because you just don't like. If you don't like poetry, you're not gonna like. I can't give you a poem, the best poem ever, and you're gonna be like, oh, this isn't pretentious and it's amazing. You're just not gonna be like that because you don't like it. So people get like that with art films, where you can show them a Wes Anderson film or like a really good art film. I'm trying to think of. I remember Bridges. Bridges was one we had to watch in film school. I don't know if you saw that one, but it was, I think, 3.5 minutes of just shots of bridges under different color film.
Is that the like the experimental one?
Yes, it's like an experimental art film. Or there, like, you have a bunch of different films that will break the mold of what we're used to, and it's just because they're writing poetry, and then most of the time you're reading novels, and if you don't like, because also if you're an art film nerd and you're like, well, this is crap, then it's like just being like, well, that's Pulp Fiction or whatever, and you're gonna lose a lot of the good stuff along the way. But it's film written in a language that you're just not used to reading. Is the way that I wanted to pitch it at the time. And so, but at the same time, because Wes Anderson's films are more accessible than a lot of art films, which I know I said it's not like this, but some of it really is just feel like nonsensical editing choices and people moaning the same nonsensical words over and over again. And it's supposed to be like an allegory for like the Iraq War. And you just like, I don't know how you got that, but Wes Anderson's films tend to be more accessible because of the star power, also because he still utilizes a lot. He borrows a lot from traditional editing and Hollywood style. But because of that, it's sort of seen as baby's first art film. And so you have the people who don't really like the film as an art form. They like it as like a cultural bridge, or like a cultural phenomenon or whatever you want to call it, who don't like it because it's pretentious or whatever. And then you have people who do really, really like film as an art form. Kind of, they don't like Wes Anderson for the same reason like a lot of classical musicians are just sort of sick of Beethoven or whatever. It's like, okay, yes, it's good, but like there's other stuff, like there's other and so he's rejected on the other stuff, on like the higher ends, because it's annoying when every third person who just like started film school is like, oh yes, Wes Anderson's like the best. But at the same time, he's really good filmmaker. And so I think he's dismissed on both ends just way too readily. On one end, hilariously, because he's popular, and on the other end, because he doesn't do what popular film does. So I talked a lot there, but I felt like I needed to lay that out. I don't know how much of it's going to make sense, but that's sort of, I wanted to explain some critiques of Wes Anderson's films. And this is a film that confronts every criticism that gets levied against him, or at least against his work, because he has all those very flat deliveries and stuff. And also, people say that his work often doesn't say anything. Like, it does a lot of stuff and then just doesn't say anything. Oh yeah, you got something.
Well, I was just to speak on that. I think that this film, I mean, I don't know if he was intentionally trying to hit that point, to have a message. Is that, as you were saying? Because at the very end of the film, I think that there is definitely a message that you will leave thinking about. And I don't know if he did that on purpose, as like, hey, for this one, I'm going to like hit you in the face with this. Yeah. Basically. Because, yeah, some of them, you're not totally sure. Some of his other films, it's like, okay, what was the point? Yeah. Of all that? What was the underlying message but there is a line that they say that they repeat.
Can we just go? This is spoiler territory now, because I feel like
kind of at that,
because I do want to talk about that line because it's been haunting me.
Yeah.
So Will, please, I need to hear what you have to say about this, because I don't know what I think about it yet.
Okay, you want me to hear, or you want to hear my thoughts?
Yes, please. I really do.
Well, you good there?
Yeah, no, I tugged the microphone cord because Will has much nicer equipment than me. I have.
On video, yeah. I don't know if you can see.
Oh yeah, I have here. Let's compare cord lengths here. This is what I have. This is what I have to work with.
And and
then she's got the freaking like grandma's keychain material of wires that loops in on itself. You could walk to the kitchen, make yourself a microwave burrito, and I can't even reach for my phone wrong. There's a clock, but like I can't even turn to go look at it because I'll ruin the recording. Yeah. I can't even tap my fingers on the thing because it's gonna pick it up. Anyway, so Will.
Anyway, yeah. Okay. So yes, so the line. I was trying to remember what the line was here.
You can't wake up if you don't fall asleep.
That's what it is. You can't wake up if you don't fall asleep. So the last like part of the film is all the actors, all the characters, they stand up and they start saying that line. And multiple, they do it like one at a time until they're all saying it. Mm-hmm. And that's at the very end, basically. And to me, that it was very confusing watching it, but I think that his goal was to kind of, have you think about it after the fact. Because my thoughts after leaving the theater and after thinking about that was that you can't wake up if you don't fall asleep. It's kind of a I guess, kind of a what am I trying to think of here? Not a play, a kind of a play on societal norms, and that, you know, you're almost like a sheep, you know, that people in society are sheep, and they believe what they're told, and they don't ask too many questions.
We're about to get turned into InfoWars right now. Yeah. I want you to no, sorry, as you're saying.
But I think that was the message that he was trying to say with that line, because in the film, and yeah, we already gave the spoiler warning. In the film, there's this whole thing. So in Asteroid City, they have this giant meteor crater, if you've seen the trailer, and they have a celebration in the crater. And when all of the whole town and the visitors go to the crater, and an alien comes down and steals the asteroid that made the crater right there in the center. And so that happened. So then the military becomes involved, and they put the whole city, or all the whole town in quarantine, and they're asking all these questions. And then at one point they do say, well, the military general says, you know, what do we tell the people? And they're like, oh, just make something up.
Yeah.
You know?
Or I think the line was directly like, tell them it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Which, so sorry, I got no room with this.
Just put your face right up.
So
there you
go. The thing is, searching for the meaning in the film, that initial, when I first watched the movie, and it was like, you can't wake up if you don't fall asleep, and that whole thing happened, I was like, it tricked me out. I didn't understand it, and I was trying to figure out what it was, and I realized that I didn't get it because I was examining the film, because there's two plot lines that are going on simultaneously. You have, probably three of them. You have basically, it's a documentary, set like a 1950s documentary about the life of a playwright as he's writing and producing a play. And so the parts that are in color are basically filmed parts of that play, which is why Asteroid City has this very like fake look to it. It's because that part is the play. And then outside of that, you have like black and white. There's two parts that are in black and white. You have the documentary itself, where they're filming the life and stuff like that, and the assembly of the play of all the actors. And then outside of that, you have the meta-narrative of the actors living their lives, like trying to make the documentary about the play that they were all in. And I realized that I was examining all of those narratives separately instead of together. And so that line made no sense to me on my second watch even. And still now I don't know what to make of it. But I think what's most telling about the total meaning of the film is the guy who plays Augie. He has this sort of crisis in the middle of the play and the documentary as they're filming all of this. He has this crisis where he decides to completely step out of everything, and he asks the question, and he asks this question a number of times in the film: why does my character do this? Why? Like, I don't get it. He asks it when he first gets casted. He asks it when he asks it like two other times in the film, where he just doesn't understand why his character does a thing, and he doesn't know if he's doing it right.
Well, you're talking about so it's like when he gets cast, and then right at the end he just like leaves the scene, right?
Yeah,
and he's like why?
I don't know why I did that. And better yet, because of how flat Wes Anderson's directing style is, at least with the actors, you have this wonderful moment that I didn't pick up on until my second watch. But there's a scene where Augie, the war photographer, burns his hand on a sandwich griddle. Mm-hmm. And that is the moment that the actor playing him is having problems with, because he doesn't get why he's doing it. like why the character does it. And in that moment, he puts his hand on the griddle, right? And you see Scarlett Johansson's character, Midge Campbell, legit, like everything's very flat between them. This is every single interaction with them. Well, you ready to be Scarlett Johansson?
Oh, sure.
I think you can pull it off with that hair.
Yeah.
And just like, hi, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm doing well. Do you want to see that picture?
I guess.
But in that moment, will like just burn your hand like on the thing. She goes, and she legitimately is surprised. And Scarlett Johansson puts this like what she uses. She's like, oh my god, that actually just happened. You actually did that. And like even the voice is just a little bit different. Like she's broken character, and it feels like the actor in that moment was supposed to pretend to. Mm-hmm. And then actually burnt his hand on the thing because he didn't understand. And so he's experimenting with it, trying to figure it out. And so, like, they bandage his hand, and she's like, why did you do that? And, like, trying to keep things going. But he did it trying to find the meaning of it. Like, He was hoping that would unlock the secrets. And then finally he has this breakdown where he's like, I still don't get it. And he storms off stage, ends up missing one of his cues. But he storms off stage and he goes to the director and he's like, I don't know that I'm doing it right. And the director gives...
Which the director is Adrian Brody?
Yes, Adrian Brody.
Yeah.
Again,
he's
marvelous.
Yeah.
Every actor in this film does an amazing job. But the director turns to him and he just goes, I don't know either. But you're doing it right. Like, it doesn't matter. And that's the thing that the film is about, because every single time Wes Anderson is presented with a conflict that would typically take up a whole movie. The Augie's wife has just died, so maybe it's him exploring his grief. No, he actually confronts it pretty quickly and gets it dealt with. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's about breaking the news to his kids and them like coming to terms with that. No, they kind of also come to terms with it pretty quickly. Maybe it's about the alien. Not really. The alien confronts them with some questions and stuff, but it's not what you would think about with most other like alien visitation movies. Like,
well, yeah, because they resolve that alien storyline like super quick. You know, it's like he
it's
comes
secondary.
Down. Yeah, he comes down, he steals the asteroid and leaves, and then he comes back and he returns it, and the only thing that he did with the asteroid was inventory. Yes.
Yeah.
So like that like whole part, which you think is gonna be like the main thread, that at least
that's what was marketed.
Well, yeah, but it also it's like, okay, that kind of would give Augie like his purpose or something, because he photographed the alien too. Mm-hmm. But then it's like, but it didn't really have any meaning. Yeah. Really. So,
or at least it didn't evolve into a conflict as you might consider it to be. Like, the conflict sort of came and went. And also, I think you have to examine this film. At the beginning of the film, they come to the city, and basically, like, they get there, and there's this wonderful image of the road leading in. There's an off ramp. There's like an exit ramp.
Yeah.
That's not like it goes over, but it's only half completed. And I didn't pick up on it at first, but the more I thought about it, why construct one there in the first place? Why start that construct? It makes no sense if you see the film. You'll see that and you'll be like, they don't need an off ramp. It doesn't lead to anything. There's no other like larger roads. This is a very, very small place. Right. That's just a research facility. There's no reason to even start construction on this, but they started it. So first of all, why start construction? And second of all, why leave it half built after starting construction? And it's confusing. It doesn't make any sense. And then a police officer, like there's a police chase. And it's pretty quick and it's done very, very flat, where just a car, there's like a shootout, a police car is chasing another car, and they just sort of go, and no one really responds to it. And then they sit down in the diner, and the whole place shakes, and it's because there's an atom bomb test. Like, legit, there's just a mushroom cloud, and Augie takes a picture of it. And then the military comes, like it shows like this stuff just happens, and people don't really pay attention to it, and it just happens. Then the quarantine happens, all that stuff stops, and the whole city is completely changed. And as soon as the quarantine is lifted, the last thing that happens before the family leaves is the car, like the exact same car chased by the exact same police, goes straight through the town, being shot at again, and then another atom bomb goes off for a test, which hadn't happened through the rest of the film. And things just are back to normal. Just everyone disinterested with like what's all happening. And I think you have to sort of read that as like it's a quarantine. What else are you going to read it at? Like the whole point of the film is that during like the whole COVID pandemic thing, and I hate doing that, just be these trying times, trademark, during these trying times. But I think Anderson, you go ahead and say.
That's when, they, I think, shot that film during the pandemic. So I don't know. I don't want to interrupt your thought there, but it is kind of an interesting idea that in itself, if that's what he was kind of going for. And honestly, I didn't think about it until you said it right now, but that there's all of this chaos, all of these really weird things that don't make sense going on.
And then they just stopped.
Well,
they seemingly stopped. No one
they didn't address it. Yeah. Which, during those couple years, that's kind of what ended up happening.
Yeah. So I want to get back onto that because, again, the whole thing was, at least how I ended up reading the film, was like the pandemic, right, happened, the quarantine happened, and it confronted everybody with questions of purpose, questions of meaning, and questions of reality. And Wes Anderson's response was, because everyone's also been leveling the thing, like the criticism against him was like, well, what is your... and this is something that I never really liked, of just like, well, what do you have to say about all that? You keep pointing all this stuff out, and Anderson's film typically don't come down really hard on things. And so this film's like, well, what would I say? Like, one of the lines in the film is, this brings up questions of what's the meaning of life? Maybe there is one. Like, that's a funny line, but it's also exactly... the premise is just maybe there is everyone's searching all this stuff for meaning, and the alien does this thing, and everyone's like, well, why would they take it? They keep like ascribing all this meaning to it. Just like, what, this has got to be a big thing, it's got to be something. And the alien literally just doesn't invade, he doesn't attack, he doesn't do anything. He just sort of awkwardly takes the meteorite and then brings it back, and he inventoried it. Why, Will? Why inventory a little meteorite that's not even on a planet that you control? And why expose yourself so much to do it?
Well, that's the whole point that you're getting at right there.
Yeah, like there's
a bunch of stuff that happens in the film that seemingly doesn't have any real purpose, and that.
But it doesn't do that purposelessly. Like,
it does it on purpose.
Yeah, which is, it's so difficult, and that's one of those things it's hard to explore in traditional Hollywood filmmaking. Which is why you use the art film. And I people are gonna get mad at me for calling Wes Anderson an art film guy.
Well,
but I think that's pretty.
The guy, Anderson, created basically a new style of film for himself, which that to me is art, he created a new
style. Well, because it's about, Anderson's style is entirely about making sure you understand that you're watching a film.
Right.
And he's done, this is a brilliant line in The French Dispatch, where Adrian Brody's character in The French Dispatch pulls out like this artist's like painting of like a cardinal, I think it was. And I forget what painter it was who painted it, but it was like a very abstract artist. And he's like, you can I always judge how good a painter is by having them draw something realistically. Because if they do draw something realistically very, very well, then it means that when their art is super abstract, it actually means something. And Anderson did a film, I forget the name of it, that was actually also critically acclaimed, that is just a traditional Hollywood film, like invisible editing, continuity, all this stuff. Like, it checks the box and it doesn't do all the artsy stuff, and it's a good film, which is why I take Anderson super seriously in his art stuff, because I know it's intentional. It's not just like being pretentious and being like the beatniks, like smoking the cigarettes, just like, I sat on the toilet for several hours staring into my nano machines, a mirror into my own soul of darkness. Like, it just doesn't mean anything. It's all just like saying stuff that sounds smart. But Anderson's stuff means something, and you know that because he's made stuff that just like he didn't do that with.
Right.
And so this one is just sort of kind of shooting back at the criticism, just like, does it need to mean something? And not in a nihilistic way either, where it's just like nothing means anything, nothing matters. Of just it was weirdly optimistically pessimistic, where I was just like, there's not necessarily a meaning to any of this. I'm not going to come down hard on a meaning to any of this, but that's not because there isn't one. It's because we don't know.
Yeah.
And that's beautiful. That's a beautiful thing that we don't know. I've been an idiot all my life, but the fact that I can be a genius because I'm an idiot it's promising.
I don't know how to respond to that last comment, but but yeah, no, yeah. It's you got to see it
to believe it. Yeah, that's final comments on the film. You got to see it.
Yeah, I mean, we can talk about it, all we want, but it's so hard to describe or to dissect exactly what he was going for, because there's so many different layers, and
like an ogre,
or
an onion.
Ogres have layers.
And speaking of, the studio DreamWorks just released a new animated Rudy Gilman, Teenage Kraken, I think it is. It has not received, I think the marketing budget was like, it's got to be half of Elemental's, and Elemental's marketing budget was whatever I had in my pocket 7 minutes ago. And that was before I bought a soda. So
I heard that, that one's not doing too good.
Yeah, again, they just didn't market it. They didn't market it. And did you even know about Rudy Gilman?
With that, you said it's the Kraken
Teenage
one?
Kraken, yeah.
See, yeah, like I don't something crack.
Yeah.
Crack.
Sorry, that was just because we mentioned Shrek and because it's DreamWorks.
That is DreamWorks.
It is DreamWorks, but they didn't market it. They didn't market it.
Yeah, I think I saw like one trailer for it.
Okay, here's the thing. I have seen one trailer about 68 times on mute because I work at a movie theater. And so it's just like we always have trailers playing, and so I always see them on mute. I never actually get to watch, so I don't know what it's about. But here's prediction. Sorry, this is going to be a little fun chapter here. Yeah. Here's my prediction for how Rudy Gilman goes. Okay, 2 characters who are like opposed, not necessarily even opposed. They're completely different characters that don't vibe well. They annoy each other or get on each other's nerves or something like that. They grow to love each other, right? And then in the third act, they get in an argument, split off, and then realize that they're actually better off together and come back at the end for a big climactic like reunion thing where they're like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I never should have done this. And then the other person's like, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done that. And then they're together, and that's how the movie goes. That's my prediction for Rudy Gilman. You know why?
Why?
Thank you for finding that was delay.
I thought that was rhetorical.
No, it wasn't rhetorical.
You know why? I'll tell you why.
Yeah, no. You know why? Because that's how DreamWorks movies are. That's just how they are.
Hey, Shrek though is a classic.
Shrek is a classic. Shrek is a wonderful film. That's still I need to go back and rewatch it before I definitively say it's been a while. It's been a while.
We'll talk about that one at some point.
Yes, Shrek is actually the next episode. Forget the Flash. But yes, so cutting back to Asteroid City.
Yeah.
Watch the film, get from it what you think you're supposed to get from it, because that's sort of the point.
Yeah.
We're all going to be confronted with the same situation and the same circumstance, and we're not going to know the right answer. Even the director of whatever play is not going to know the right answer.
Right.
So the only right choice is to just keep doing it. So that's what I'm thinking.
Create your own ideas of what you think it is.
Take that, Hollywood. Create your own ideas. Stop rebooting and making sequels. But that's it. Has Wes Anderson ever done a sequel?
No.
No.
I don't.
You know why? Because he said what he needed to the first time.
Yeah.
We don't need 10 movies to tell us about family. And why did they call it Fast 10 Your Seatbelt?
Is that what?
That's what it should be.
Oh,
why
that's
didn't
what it
they?
should be.
We know they're okay with number puns. They have Too Fast, Too Furious. I'm so mad. You know why? Because as soon as I saw the poster for that, I made that joke. I made that joke to one of my movie theater friends, and then I saw it on Twitter the next day, and it was a big post that blew up, and I was like, damn it, I should have tweeted that before.
Fasten your seatbelts for family.
Do you know a legitimate line in that movie? Did you see it?
No,
I didn't see it either.
There's many reasons.
Yeah, I didn't see it. But there's unironically a moment where they just cut to nuns. There's a big chase, and they just cut to nuns.
No!
I have too much hand.
Gabe keeps bumping his microphone there.
I just flip it over.
That's that low rumble.
But the no, that's actually the.
Oh, here you gotta move it closer now.
Oh, now I gotta move it closer. Yeah, that's what the audience needs: more loudness on my grating voice. What was I saying?
The line.
Oh,
the nuns.
the line. They just cut to nuns, and then they go. Then they cut back to the guy who's just like, get out of the way. It's none of your business. What? Okay, everyone's going to be like, okay.
None yet.
That actually brings up a really good point that I want to point out. I'm so sorry. We're supposed to conclude this.
Yeah, but I don't even know how long this has been going
there's
now.
the distinction. Everyone talks about the distinction between high art and low art. And some people say the distinction is pretentious. Some people say that it's kind of necessary. And it's very difficult to say. But you have to ask yourself, should we be comparing Fast X to Asteroid City? And is that wrong? What is that fair to either film to be comparing them? So maybe not making a distinction between high art and low art, because that's sort of, I do see the elitism, but there does need to be a distinction between I'm not going to compare Eternal Sunlight to a Spotless Mind to Transformers Rise of the Beast. There's different criteria, and so you have to judge things based upon those, and so it's difficult because you don't want to be an elitist prick, but at the same time, you people are enablers. Stop seeing these movies, please. They're entertaining, sure, but
that was I saw, that Fast and Furious 10, the newest one, made freaking $600 million.
They're making
or
3 more or 2 more of them.
I'm I don't.
And
I mean, I haven't seen any of them, but okay, 10, it's kind of a lot.
Yeah,
it's kind of a lot.
Here's the, you can enjoy films, right? You can enjoy movies. I'm not going to call Fast X a film. You can enjoy movies, and then there can be movies that are good. There are, and I always make this distinction. There are movies that I've seen that are good that I did not enjoy, and I don't like them, and I will never watch them again. I forget the name of it. There's one about pioneers. It was this very lovely feminist film. I think it's something Drift or something. It's a very lovely feminist.
The Donner Party?
It wasn't the Donner Party. It was
Donner Party of 3? Donner Party of 2?
It was a it was set in it was Mormon settlers, but it was a very, very good film that I don't ever want to watch again because it's so difficult to get through. It's a good film, but it's not entertaining. Transformers Rise of the Beast or Fast X, I'm sure they're entertaining. Don't look me in the eyes and say it's good, because you know it's not. You know it's not, and everyone keeps being like, why do they keep making sequels and reboot? You pay for them. Stop paying for them.
Yeah,
They're making them because
millions of dollars.
They're making millions of dollars. Although, if you ask the IRS, they've made nothing. But and with that, I've ensured I will never work in the industry. But yeah, it's support films that are original. If you want to see ones that are original, if you want to see the same thing over and over again, that's fine. Understand that you're enabling reboots and sequels, which is fine if that's what you want.
I mean, yeah.
But
that's a conversation for
that we'll have in the next episode, The Flash, which we're recording right now.
Probably.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
By this time, I don't know. We'll see.
We'll see.
Well, I would like to point out just right before we conclude that the opening sequence to this podcast, which we didn't talk about, was a.
That took like an hour and a half of just like spitball and just like we should do this or we should do that,
and then we shot it and we'll include it. We'll include it. But we were just like, hey, we're gonna talk about Wes Anderson. Let's make like a Wes Anderson opening. So real fast, Wes Anderson has he likes to throw in a lot of symmetry in his films. So we captured the symmetry and lighting, and angles and all that. I'm sure that
the beats, the flat acting, like
we won't go too much into that, but
we hope that
that's
you
what
enjoyed
it's
it.
like. Yeah. Maybe you'll put 2 and 2 together.
Maybe you'll put 2 and 2 together so well. We have so much faith in you that we decided to explain the joke at the end here.
I mean, I figured we should just mention. We didn't talk about his filming techniques or styles at all, but a little bit.
Yeah. But. I do want to add here, just as our conclusion. Yeah. We've been missing a while. Yeah. And 2 of you cared, so we thank you. We thank those 2 of you. The Howler community, as they're calling themselves. We know we're a bit rusty right now. We're getting back into the swing of things. I've started wearing leather jackets and sunglasses. I've entered my slut era, and Will grew a goatee. So we are just becoming evil versions of ourselves.
Yeah, this is the darkest timeline.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. I mean, maybe it's like we graduate college and then it's like mid-20 crisis.
I know, yeah. Why am I here? I better go watch Asteroid City for the 30th time to give me another panic attack about that. But conclusion.
You can't wake up if you don't fall asleep. I want to fall asleep now.
I know.
It's like, 11:30
and we still got to talk about The Flash.
Yeah.
But
we got to give
people what they want.
Yeah.
What they want is for us to shut up. And if you donate to our Patreon, we will stop making You'll stop making these episodes.
Yeah, just mail it in. Just mail in your
We're like the
payments.
reverse strippers. Like we show up and you give us money to keep our clothes on. That's what it is.
We put more on. That's why Gabe has the jacket.
Yeah, I know. This is our Patreon, like $20 tier. We don't have a Patreon right now, but we'll get it set up. In the meantime, you can just mail a check. What's the P.O. box that they're using to pay off the federal deficit? But right, am I allowed to make just payments on that? Just like, hey, I got $20. There you go, Mr. Biden.
So what, like the $20 trillion? I don't know.
Yeah, whatever. You're gonna get two bullets to the back of the head, suicide right there. If you keep talking like that.
Yeah. Anyway, all right.
Well, hey, thanks for watching, guys.
Yeah, and like, subscribe, and tell your
friends so that they can make fun of us too.
Yeah. Tell your friends. We'll we're back though. We're gonna keep releasing.
Back, baby.
We're back, and the next ones probably won't be quite as long. But this was our
return.
Mm-hmm.
We're rusty. I'm sorry. It's bad.
Return of the I don't know.
Return of the sender.
Return to sender. That's where we're just gonna get comments. Please stop. Please disappear again.
For the love of God.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you.
Well, thanks.